Okay.
Recording in progress.
Oh, I guess we're recording too.
Okay.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 10 a.m. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Where's the flag?
Oh. Hold it up over there.
Oh, it's right
Sit
there.
back behind you.
Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike, I gotta tell you, I explained that to my last the Augusta
Yeah.
Township meeting. I said, now I have a friend who is like,
Could somebody unmute themselves on the video real quick so I can see if the audio is correct? Cindy, can you unmute and say something?
Good morning.
Okay, hang on one second. Let me
Yeah,
switch speaker volume. Should be try that again, Cindy.
Good morning, everybody.
Cindy.
Perfect.
Already.
So did they argue the point?
said, oh, and then they said it the way they wanted.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's nature, you
That
know.
was just a side discussion that one of my pet peeves is on the Pledge of Allegiance. There is no comma after one
Nation.
one nation. It's one nation under God. It's one sentence. And that was pointed out to me by a Marine. So I looked it up.
We learned to take a breath then.
We
or
do.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned it in school
Yeah.
that way, and that's the way we
Yeah,
all
and
do
so
it.
that's, yeah. Yeah,
Okay, roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
okay. Dolores is here. Dan O'Connor is
Not here as of yet.
Not yet, okay. Mike,
Here.
Roland, Stan,
Here.
Kim,
Here.
Will.
Yep.
Okay, and Bill is here. Hi, Bill. That's it.
All right, perfect. We do have a quorum. Before we approve the agenda, I have a couple of additions and I'll open it up for any other additions. We need to, under old business, we need to officially approve the selection of an attorney. And under new business, I want to have a brief discussion about closed sessions and committee meetings. Are there any other additions to the agenda? Any other proposed additions to the agenda? Oh, and under closed session, I also want to add personnel matter.
Yes.
Any other additions? Okay, then I would accept a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All right. All right, second by Will and Roland. Motion made by Kim. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. Everyone should have had a chance to read last month's minutes. Actually, it would have been November minutes because you didn't have a meeting in December. Are there any corrections or additions? Any corrections or additions? Hearing and seeing none, I would accept a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Moved by Will.
I'll second.
All right, now we got a competition going on. Second by Dolores and Roland. Any further discussion? All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion is carried. The minutes are approved as presented. All right, public comment. Do we have
You
any?
know,
I guess the only member of the public here is Mary.
Hand it down.
Do we have any public members on the Zoom meeting, Lenny? Are there any members of the public?
No.
Okay, so we'll open it up again at the end of the meeting for public comment in case anyone joins us and would like to make comment. Are there any persons wishing to address the board? I have Cindy Scott with the auditor's report. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, Cindy, you're up.
Great. Lenny, did you make it so I can share my screen? Let me try it and see. Oh, nope, you disabled it.
You can go ahead now. I just allowed you to be co-host, so go
Okay.
ahead. There you go.
There we go.
All right. So I apologize for not being in there in person today. That was initially my plan, and then life gets crazy and we got dumped on a bunch of snow yesterday and I chickened out and said, hey, can I zoom in instead? You have your PowerPoint in front of you. Lenny, did you get your reports delivered yesterday?
I did, and I'll get this out to the board.
Great, I'll give you a second to do that. So just like I've done in previous years, you have the bound report in front of you, and I'm going to go through a PowerPoint that just highlights the areas that I think are important to you, that you'll care about, the big changes from last year. But by all means, if you have a different question, ask, but I'll just kind of keep it rolling and go a little bit quicker. So for
Kim and I.
That's all right.
Do you got, I put one on these
Okay.
tables to share, and then it'll be up on the PowerPoint.
So for the 21 audit, just like in any other year, the entire reason why we do what we do is to issue an opinion on your financial statements. We're not saying whether or not the commission's in good financial standing or poor financial standing, but is the information accurate and can this report be relied upon? And yes, it can. We issued an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we can give to say it's accurate, it's solid. You can base decisions on this information. After the opinion letter, we get into the actual financial statements and notes, and then the management letter. So we'll talk through all of those. So on page 3 of the bond report starts the actual financial statements. And the items I want to point out is that your net assets. So if you were to cash in everything that you own and pay off all of your debt, where would you be? Your ending net assets at September 30th of 21 was just under 1.4 million. That was close to a $400,000 increase. And we're going to talk about what changed this year that made that go up so much. But something to keep in mind is that if you pull out your fixed assets, your land, your building, your equipment, it drops down quite a bit. And so if we look at how much of your net assets, what's the percentage of those compared to your current year expenditures? If we pull out your fixed assets, you're at 85%. So you don't have a full year of operation sitting in your fixed assets. You have about 85% of a year, I'm sorry, sitting in your net assets. But that's still a healthy fund balance for everything, all the projects and operations that I know you have going on. So the big changes from 2020, if we look at your cash and your investments, if we look at them as a snapshot in time, September 30th of 21 versus September 30th of 20, cash went down 100,000, but that's because you put more into investments. And if you look at that, so your investments increased 220,000. And if you drop down here, you'll see that the investment income actually increased close to $100,000 as well. So your investments did great during the year we audited. Your fixed assets increased $162,000. And just to give you a heads up of what type of items were in there, that included 91,000 towards the new building, 66,000 in land towards the new building, $8,700 in an oven and a burner range for the kitchen, and then 35,000 on a new Dodge Caravan. You have, and then those are offset by current year depreciation. Your tax revenue increased 355,000. Your millage went up this year. And so this was the first year you were able to realize that increase. I already mentioned the investment income was up 95,000. You had that loan forgiveness for the PPP loan this year. That was approved. So we show revenue of close to $70,000 for that loan forgiveness. And then all of your other expenses, those increased $350,000. It looks like, oh, here it is right here. The donated food revenue and expense, those went down. So if you just take a step back and you were to look at your total revenues compared to last year and your total expenses, it looks like everything went down drastically because it's over $1 million of a change. And specifically what you have going on is a year ago, your food pantry was just getting going. And so Gordon Foods was really contributing a lot into that food pantry program that you have. And that didn't happen this year. They contributed a little bit, not nearly as much as last year. So you're going to see the food cost for in-kind donations and the in-kind revenue both go down together by over $1 million. If we pull that piece out of the mix, all your other expenses increased $350,000, and we'll talk about those. For meals provided, you had another challenging year with COVID. So during the 21 fiscal year, which is going to be October of 20, which is right in the heart of COVID, through September of 21, you had to close so much that your congregate meals went down to only 951 meals. Your home delivered did have a little bit of a decrease, but not that much. You were at 30,292 meals. So overall, just looking at everything, you had that uptick in 2020. It seemed like a lot more meals were going out the door in 2020. Now in 21, you're back closer in line with 19, 31,243 overall. So average donation per meal, what we like to do is we look at how many meals were served, how much money came in, and let's compare. And typically we expect that to stay pretty consistent. And then in 2020, we started to see that drop. And now you see it looks like it's just through the roof in 21. What you need to keep in mind is there were only 963 congregate meals. So very few meals, which skews the numbers, because bottom line is the people that were still coming, even when things were, maybe the health concerns were higher, those are your diehards. Those are the people that are going to donate more. Excuse me. So it makes it skew up to appear that more people are donating an average per meal, but I think it's just the base of individuals you had still coming into the center for those meals. On the home delivered meals, we did have an increase there as well. It went from $1.09 per meal on average to $1.18. So back in 18, we were at $1.20. So you really do kind of stay in that just over $1 range, but I'm glad to see it going back up. Average food costs per meal. I was really impressed with this because food costs are on the rise, and I expected to see your food costs just skyrocket. And you were able to really keep your arms around the cost and keep your arms around which types of items to purchase when. And your cost per meal was at $2.03 a meal, which is the lowest it's been in 5 years. So good job. Now, the average cost per meal for everything, including your salaries and benefits and taxes and everything, did go up. It went from $7.56 a meal up to $8.77 a meal. So the food cost per meal went down, but your overall cost went up, and that's directly related to your wages. There were some large pay increases last year. I think it averaged around 9% because you were trying to get people up to a more steady rate, I think, with what's acceptable across the board. And so those costs did increase the overall cost per meal once you include everything. So let's look at revenues. I mentioned, can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I mentioned that Gordon's really stepped up here last year, and they contributed so much food towards the pantry. That's gone. That's why this is such a decrease. And I shouldn't say it's gone. They did contribute some. It's just nowhere near what it was. So that's where this big drop comes in. You can see that the interest and the investment income, it went from being way down here up to 124,000. This other income is including that forgiveness of the PPP loan that I mentioned, just under 70,000. Program income, these are the donations. The people, whoops, I went the wrong way. These are the people donating towards the services that they're receiving, whether it be meals, whether it be in-home services. So that went up. You have more people donating, which is great. That means that they're recognizing and appreciating those services. Grants, we noticed back in 2020, you were hardcore going after all these grants, bringing in new programs. So we had that increase, and you were pretty close able to maintain it this year. There's a little bit of a drop, but not much. And then the property taxes this year did go up because your millage went up. So overall, with looking at all of your revenues combined, 50% of your revenues come from your property taxes. 15% come from the donated food, 17% from grants, 6% from program income, which is the donations. Interest and investment income make up 8%, and then other revenues at 4%. When that PPP loan comes out next year, that 4% will probably drop to less than 1%, and it will skew the numbers a little bit. So on the expense side, just like with the revenue, you can see this Gordon Foods piece, they didn't donate as much food, so your food cost went down drastically. This depreciation, repairs, and maintenance, what you've got included in here that makes it so high is you received a large technology grant last year. And so there was roughly, I think, $88,000 worth of technology purchases that each one was individually below the threshold to capitalize. So we don't show it as a fixed asset, it goes through expenses. So that's what's making that go up so much. Contracted services remained consistent from the prior year. Rent and utilities, it went down when you closed the other sites, and it's remained down there. On the supplies end, you had quite a bit purchased of PPE supplies, you had some fitness supplies, just some different small grant supplies being purchased. On the administration and other, that increase, that's including some internet access for all the tablets now. That I believe cost overall for the internet access changes about $10,000. There were some kitchen supplies in there. I think insurance went up a little bit, so that's what's all getting incorporated there. But then the salaries, I had mentioned that there was about a 9% pay increase across the board. That in turn is going to increase taxes. You also were up about 5 full-time equivalent employees. So you got more people working, more dollars going out. So salaries and related expenses make up 41% of your cost. Food is at 24%. Depreciation, repairs, maintenance, and this is where the technology items are, that's 13%. Admin and other 8%. Contracted services 4%. Supplies 7%. Rent and utilities at 1%, and travel at 1%. Questions on numbers?
Uh-oh. She froze.
Darn it.
Do we have any questions for Cindy?
The disembodied frozen head. No.
You're frozen, Cindy. Don't know if you can hear us, but there are no questions.
Affect them greatly. So for 2021, the Commission on Aging was economically dependent on NEMSCA at 11%. And the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan at 12%. There's also a footnote in there on your investments, and your total investments at the end of the year were $1,042,620 for net income of $119,450. So you're making really good dollars on those investments, especially in light of the market and everything's been so questionable. You've really done well. You do have an SBA loan out there still. It's payable over 30 years. And as of September 30th, the balance was still at the full amount of $150,000. We are required to disclose that there was a lawsuit that was pending during the audit. However, there should not be a significant cost to the commission as it's being handled by the insurance company.
Love the internet.
Gotta love it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you unfroze that time. Okay, good. Oh,
Nope.
no.
Spoke too soon.
Okay. So loosely enclosed in the back of the audit report is the management letter. And this is where we have canned information that we're required to disclose, as well as recommendations for improvement and so on. And first off, with the canned information, you didn't have any changes in accounting policy this year. Thank you. Those are always a little bit tougher audits. For significant estimates, the donated food is an estimate. We take the value that the Eastern Food Bank says this is what we value our food per pound, and we calculate it that way, but that is an estimate. But there were no difficulties encountered. There are no uncorrected misstatements. Management took care of all of that. Management did provide us with representation that they're not withholding information from us. We're not aware of you consulting with other auditors for a different or better opinion. And there's no other issues or matters outside of Appendix 2. So then Appendix 2 are the actual comments and recommendations. And if you can recall from previous years, there's 3 levels of management comments. The highest level is a material weakness, saying it's reasonably possible that something could go wrong that could materially affect the financial statements. And whenever we have to post adjusting journal entries during the audit that are material, we are required to include this comment as a disclaimer to say, hey, we're just making you aware that had we issued the financials in the format that it was initially received to us, it could have been materially misstated because we did have adjustments that we had to post. This is in 95% of the audits I issue. It's really just a disclaimer. I wouldn't let yourself get hung up on it at all. When I submit reports to the state, they actually ask, there's a question that says, are there any material weaknesses outside of financial statement prep? They don't care, but I have to disclose it to you. So for significant deficiencies, this is the next step down where we're saying it's reasonably possible something could happen and go wrong, but it wouldn't be material to the financials. And we ran across 2 issues. The first with meal count reporting. A year ago, you're going to see this on the next slide. A year ago, we had a management comment that the meal counting wasn't consistent. We'd look at 2 or 3 different sets of records and they didn't line up and match. That was corrected this year. This year, when we looked at the different sets of records, everything lined up. The problem that we ran across was that when the numbers would get put into the monthly NEMSCA report, they were grabbing the wrong column. The information that was there was right. They were grabbing the wrong column to move it over. So we just wanted to make them aware to make sure the right column is being grabbed for that information. But the good news is everything across the board was consistent and lining up, which is good. The other piece was with the inventory counts. It just seemed like I think people got busy. And so the counting of actual inventory that needs to be done on a monthly basis wasn't being consistently done. So making sure that whoever's in charge of that every month is timely doing an inventory count, signing off on it, making sure that everything lines up correctly. The last piece, and I do believe that this has already been corrected since we did the audit, was we didn't see a formal purchasing policy that would give the director authorization for purchases to a certain level before it has to come to the board. And so it appeared that everything was just going to the board without any type of threshold. And so we really recommended putting something into writing that specifies it more. So that way the director wouldn't necessarily have to come to you for a $100 supply order that you have to do all the time, but that if it's a $10,000 order that's unusual, it would require board approval first. And I do believe I saw in the board minutes that you've already handled that. So then I mentioned that last year I had a comment on the meal count reporting and I put progress made because significant progress was made. Everything lined up. We need to make sure we're grabbing the right column. And then again, the financial statement preparation will probably be in there every year unless miraculously no journal entries are needed, but I very rarely see that. Questions for me?
Any questions for Cindy?
No.
Looks like none, Cindy.
All right. Well, thank you. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you. All right, that was good news.
Yes. Absolutely.
All right, Commissioner's report, Bill Thompson.
We had a rather, I believe, a productive meeting between ACCOA and the commissioners and working on the contract, which we'll be discussing later. The That was probably the biggest issue that came through. On a side note, the Alcona County Fair is putting on a bump and run endurance, 125 laps around. They're using the full track. It will be on ice. And they,
Should be a lot about that.
and they're using the counters that are being left from the snowmobile race, which I believe is the 28th and 29th of February. We're doing this one on March 5th, and they're going to have the bump run using the full track. And if there's enough cars left, they will have a demolition derby after that.
Oh,
Finish up the cars.
Yeah, just to finish them off.
So anyway, I will leave the flyer for anyone that'd be interested, but we're attempting to do things in the wintertime.
Yeah.
The same person who put the bumper run on during the fair is putting this one on with us.
And the reason I am bald and gray is my son has enrolled in this. bump and run.
Oh.
It seems to be getting a pretty good interest well across the stage. The man comes from Alpena, and he's got like 20, 30 people, drivers already set up.
Yeah,
cool.
So, and we're moving forward with the fair. We've got 2 days worth of singers. I believe it's Friday night and Wednesday night. We're working on some more entertainment just to try. It's our 50th year. We're trying to make a big issue on it. So we'll have more information on what comes through. We're just getting the contracts together now. But yeah, we're gonna go full tilt this year and see what happens. Hopefully everything gets.
Stays copacetic, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get the same group you had last year? Are they gonna come back?
No, we've got the
Elvis,
same booking company, but there's, let me see, one's a country western and the other one is English Invasion, I think they called it or something. So
And I think Matt King, who was Elvis, is coming back, but as a different character.
right.
He does
Oh.
about 4 different
Yeah,
characters.
right.
That was good last year.
I
That
think he
was really
does
nice.
Neil Diamond, he does, shoot, yeah, I had his name yesterday, he was part of the damn
Rod Stewart.
Yankees. No, Rod Stewart was the other guy,
But they're coming in, they did so
Roy
well
Orbison.
last year.
Oh, cool.
I call them, the crowd that came is almost like the crowd that comes to our bump and run. Once they started, nobody moved.
Yeah.
The audience stayed there and watched the songs and they
Yep.
got involved, they were dancing. And that went from 8 o'clock to like past 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And there was no movement out in the audience. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
And if you have a entertainment that can do that, try to get them back, or at least
Yeah,
that.
did well, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Do you have any more of these flyers with you or not?
Not with me, but we can
Okay.
get you some.
Okay.
Or they can make
We
copies.
can
I
make
just
copies.
took a picture of it. I'll post it at Bosley Woods.
Okay.
We went up Saturday night to see the Beatles,
Okay.
the shout, they call them now. They're really good. And the tickets was only $10.
Yeah.
To get in, so,
yeah, there's a lot of good tribute
yeah.
bands, I mean, like full bands out there, not just individual performers.
Right.
There was one that used to come to Alpena all the time, and it was a Kiss tribute. And the Gene Simmons character, I've seen him in and out of makeup. You'd swear he was Gene Simmons.
Isn't that awesome?
And he had the voice down perfect, and same thing, nobody moved. I mean, and there were hundreds of people there. But there's so many out there, AC/DC and the
Price is-
Beatles.
Price is the big thing.
Exactly.
But their contract will work for their 2 hours of the show.
Should we pass it around, or
But, anyway, you
we
keep
can
that.
make
yeah,
copies of
posted.
that
I'm gonna
downstairs.
Yeah, we can make copies.
That's all.
Yep. That's it?
Yep.
All right, thanks, Bill. Dan O'Connor's not here. What's that?
Brooke from Nimska.
Brooke from Nemska. I'm sorry, I didn't see her on here.
Well, has a vet, but.
Oh,
Yvette didn't
okay.
Show up. So.
All right,
No,
Brooke from Nemska.
Brooke Levine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just here to, take notes and see how everything is going. I do have evidence-based programs coming up, Matter of Balance, Powerful Tools in Creating Confident Caregivers, as well as we are doing 3 elder abuse prevention program webinars for June, July, and August. So I will be sending that stuff to Lenny, and he does a great job of putting it on your social media and things like that. If anyone has any questions for me, feel free to ask. Other than that, I have no other comments at this time.
Thank you, Brooke. Next is me with the Regional Advisor Board report. I had internet problems during the last meeting, was unable to attend. So I don't have anything to report on that. And I'll do my other thing under business. In-home service, Leanne, and also food services.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Okay, so I know that you guys saw in your board books, the hours of service for homemaking, PC and respite, over the course of the 2 months, because I reported on both November and December. We had a total of 870 hours, almost 871. And I think that's really impressive considering that we were closed between the week of Christmas and New Year's and even Christmas Eve. So there was 6 days where services were not performed, and we still had that high of a count. So I really appreciate my team for being out there and helping everybody. Meals for November, we had 3,078. The meals for December, we did 3,178. And what we did was we sent out a survey to all of the home delivered meals clients saying, do you want meals during the time we're closed? How many do you want of frozen meals or sack lunches? And they responded back with what they wanted. So we bought all the stuff because there's no menu items for that week. So we bought extra food and whatnot to create extra frozens to send out to them. So again, kitchen staff did an amazing job getting all those out. I think over 3 days, there was about 1,500 meals that went out to everybody that last week we were open. So the kitchen was hustling. As far as activities that have been going on in the program, for November and December, we had 4 closed files. So that's pretty low, 2 for November, 2 for December. But we added 8 clients in November and 9 in December. So we're starting to see that uptick, even though we have some snowbirds that are leaving. One of our home delivered meals drivers, Bob Larson, retired at the end of December. It was sad to see him go, but right on the heels of that, we did hire somebody new. His name is William Spooner. He goes by Bill. He has really done an amazing job, and I couldn't have asked for a better person to replace Bob. He's really been doing great. As far as direct care workers that go into the homes, I'm still at 7, so we're holding steady there. We've not had any turnover, so knock on wood. And we've still kept Jacqueline as the float. She is talking about wanting to go back out full time. So we are starting to create a new schedule for her for that to happen. She enjoyed doing the day center, but her heart really is with the people and she wants to help the folks. So, and then just other changes that happened, obviously with Julie leaving, we needed some way to continue these programs. So Kelly and I were filling in for Julie, but we weren't able to find anybody to actually replace her. So the work has been absorbed and spread across a few of us here. There wasn't a whole lot of talk about like the budgets and whatnot from Julie. So the food budget is probably going to be very much over for December. But that was because Julie ordered differently than the way that Kelly and I are thinking about it. We want to make sure that the kitchen has everything they need to make these meals because we're noticing a lot of shortages on things. So we're trying to order them early. Kelly did struggle a lot with ordering because so many things out of stock, and the availability of products is probably going to be an ongoing issue for the foreseeable future. Let's see. I already said we're already making changes to try to streamline things, make things easier since there's so much to be done in that process. And then the last item of note I have is that I received a call from a gentleman that he and his wife want to volunteer to be backup home delivered meal drivers. We are trying to figure out what that looks like. They are already part of the RSVP program through NEMSCA, but they said they would love to volunteer their time here. My understanding is that he is unable to drive, so his wife drives, and he wants to be the one to actually do the delivering of the meals. So they would be a team working in this aspect. So there will be more to come on that, because I think that's kind of neat. And that is all I have.
Thank you,
I have
Leanne.
one question or two questions for you. You reported the number of hours and the number of meals. How many people get home service approximately?
There's about, I'm going to say there's about 120 people that receive the different services. A lot of them overlap. They receive more than one service.
And the home delivered meals, what's the number of people there approximately?
That includes, that 100 and some includes the home delivered meals and the homemaking.
Hey, ma'am.
Oh, I also need to ask for the kitchen, who is staying for lunch? I need names.
Depends on what time we get out of here, I guess.
Yeah, what are we having?
Oh, you would ask me that. Today is Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, green beans, pineapple, and milk.
Stay.
Okay,
Leanne,
Mike, Dolores.
Stan Rollins.
And Roland.
Oh, and four.
Do 5. I'll stay. I'll do 1.
Oh, Lenny. Five.
5.
Okay. I got you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for Leanne? No? Okay, now it's the Shauna show.
Dun, dun, dun.
I very dramatically escorted her in and no one even noticed.
The Shauna show.
First of all, I just want to quickly say I'm getting over the fear of driving the bus and picking up the kids on Wednesday for art.
Yeah.
It is so funny having them, all the little voices and the chatter, and I'm like, I kind of miss those little kids. So, all right, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on my report, but I do want to draw your attention. If you look at November and December declined transportations, those are trips that I could not take because I simply do not have enough vehicles. That figure, all of those declines together, $3,741.83. I just got a request this morning for next week, and again, I don't have enough vehicles to do the transportation. As you know, we have signed a contract with MotiveCare, and these trips are becoming more needed. And there again, because of not enough vehicles.
Yeah.
I do. And if need be, I can get in the driver's seat and drive. There are times, believe it or not, I can actually put 4 transports out. But with the bus being out of service right now for Wednesdays, I try not to put it out there for long hauls, but sometimes that is the only thing I have. And these folks need to get to their appointments. It's critical. It's crucial.
So I believe back in October, the board, because I had originally planned to submit a grant to USDA to acquire 2 additional transportation vehicles. There was some sentiment from the board that, that there wouldn't be a need. So we've allowed, I believe this is month number 5, October, November, December, January, February. So we're almost in the 5th month. So we've been tracking our cancellations, and now, as you can see, $3,783 pretty much pays for Shauna and her staff and some over, just in cancellations. So, I would like to target those grants. It does take time to get those grants in, to get those vehicles purchased, but we're also in the last round of acquiring a contract with McLaren Healthcare. And so once those two contracts, we'll have the two biggest contracts with the two largest Medicaid transportation programs in the state. So, volume is only going to go up. The reason why we have a policy is that it's first come, first serve. So we do not deobligate residents in Oconee County who have booked first, even though it may be a $30 trip. We're not going to deobligate them because there's a $1,200 trip on the other side. That's not good money, but that's not good business.
Right.
So this is how we do. So it's first come, first serve. So if a senior in our local transportation area can only afford or pay $30, we prioritize that person regardless if that next bigger, flashier trip comes up. Trust me, it does hurt to see, those trips say we can't provide it or we can't do it. But we would like to start targeting that grant, that particular grant. It will take some time to get it. It is up to a $50,000 grant, which we could use to purchase 2 additional vehicles. We do have the drivers that could bring those services in, and then having the additional vehicles in the fleet would offset some of the costs, not only for the seniors in the community, because we can continue to provide lower, but then we can also still continue to provide to our contracted services. So you guys asked us to track, and we've been tracking the cancellations. So I believe that we've kind of put that out there, and then once the snowbirds do come back, we anticipate an increase for transportation services.
Is the board okay with adding that discussion to new business for today?
Absolutely.
And I just want to say also, I'll get the phone, my phone's constantly ringing, transportation. And I had a call from a gal, and she said, tell me a little bit about your transportation, how it works. So I said, okay, you have a trip coming up, where do you need to go? I got all the pertinent information, mapped it out. And I said, yeah, you can do that. It's your pickup time, so on and so forth. So I randomly asked, so how did you hear about our transportation department? She said, my nephew lives in Florida and he was Googling transportation. Your name came up on the internet. And I'm going, wow, that is awesome. So come to find out, this client lives in Oconee County and does not know about our transportation.
I
So-
see the signs in
Yep.
places
Oh, yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, I do.
And then
Flag
It's
and-
out there.
And
Yeah.
then there's folks that'll walk up to the vehicle and ask the driver,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, tell me about your, so I always have card business cards in every vehicle, so then they can hand them out. They can
Good
call
idea,
me
yeah.
and get the information.
Yep.
So yes, the word is getting out. We are growing. We are growing in leaps and bounds. Go ahead.
We're missing $3,000. Was that for 2 months or for 1 month?
That is for 8 transportations spread out.
Only 8.
Yeah.
Is there any way we could use the Jeep and possibly the
No.
Meals on Wheels?
No.
Why?
That Jeep,
It's
It's not set for that. The Jeep is set for what the program that we allocated for, and that's for
Yeah,
But
we
it's-
sold it to the,
Dolores, that Jeep, I do not feel comfortable or safe putting in a client.
Well, why don't we get rid of it then? Because we don't use it.
The
I
food
mean,
bank is using it. Yeah.
no, we don't use it. The food bank doesn't use it.
Not that I know
No, nobody uses it. It sits there. I mean, if we're not going to use it, sell it.
of. I used it a couple times to take a client up to Alpena and there's a noise in the back end. It sounded like bearings going out. And I made a comment, this doesn't sound right or safe. He says, I feel the same way. So why? And-
Right.
And I don't know, we've had that chief, it's been in the senior center for a good many years. Even when,
It was used when we bought it.
yeah, and that was before I got acquainted with senior center when I was on the board first time.
Oh, let's move that discussion under new business when we talk about vehicles. That way we keep going through our departmental reports. I've got it written down here, vehicles, so we will definitely hold that discussion.
Another thing to keep in mind, one other thing, and then I'll be out of your hair. Unlike other transportation departments and companies, they stay within their own counties. They stay within.
Right.
Think of us, we're like doctors without borders. We are not confined
Good.
just to one county. We just did a transport to Port Huron. We had a request for Marquette. But unfortunately, I had to decline.
Yeah.
So,
is that the problem? Or do we not want to limit? Because that's, if you're taking a trip to Marquette, that's like, how many other opportunities within the county are you declining because you have to do that one? I mean, is that even?
There's not enough
Does that make sense?
that in there, in it, the services that we're providing. And thank you, Shauna. The services that we're providing to our community is such a limited basis that we're already losing revenue to provide that services at what we're providing and at the cost.
I understand.
So in us, for another us to try to make just the basic board, just to make even, we encapsulate some, we have to expand to get some of these other services in other counties and other communities. Because as it currently states, you know, like the reason why we're going to be pulling the bus out, because it's a larger vehicle, it uses a lot more resources than what we need. So we're keeping the bus for a little bit more local runs. So we can start pulling some of these vehicles to say, okay, this is our local run vehicle. You know, and that, you know, yes, some of these things are strategizing, but you know, that one run to Marquette is going to pay for 22 transports that are going to be local, you know, so
I know,
again,
but then it's like, so are these, are those kind of trips things that you're getting through the McLaren contract or would be, or the other contract that you have? I mean, are those kind of out of the way, or is it just?
That's
just kind
standard.
of a one-off?
No, those are
thing?
standard contracts. So because
Okay.
they are
To
looking
go
for
anywhere.
to go anywhere. So they basically say, hey, do we have a transport in Traverse City? Can you take it? Cool. And then we say agree, they pay, you know, we pick up the person, we drop off,
Okay.
you know. And
I
that's-
just think that, you know, if getting more vehicles is what will solve the problem, ultimately, it's important that you don't ignore your own county.
no,
to-
no, no,
to,
and that's.
You know, to be able to service all those outside.
And I think I can help.
Yeah.
We are, it's first come, first served.
Yes. I
So
understand.
somebody calls and says, hey, I need a trip to blah, blah, blah. If I look on my calendar, if it is open, absolutely, they go on the board.
Right. I
Somebody
get it.
calls behind and says, hey, I just need to go from the apartment up to the clinic. Do you have an opening? Absolutely. And there are sometimes I can squeeze somebody
short
in
trips in,
between
yeah.
the runs.
Okay.
But I always put the medical always comes first. That is top priority.
Sure.
So if I have Miss Jones that wants to go to the grocery store, get her hair done, not a problem. But I might have to squeeze her in maybe at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I have another driver coming back, or hey, in between runs, I have a trip for you. I need you to go here.
Okay.
Nobody gets left out. Nobody. But as I said, right?
No,
now,
I
being
understand,
restricted
but I'm just saying the
on
big picture.
vehicles,
Yeah.
unfortunately, some people do get left out. And I feel bad because I know the importance.
Sure.
I know the importance, and like I said, there is such a need out there, and that's what we are here for. That is what our main job is, get these people to where they need to go.
Sometimes, did you have someone who took down to Ohio?
No.
You're,
We never,
Okay, we're
Okay.
pressed for time. We need to move on.
we're
Yep.
just
Thank
missing
you,
it.
Sean.
Yeah, thanks, Shauna.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, food bank. We have Rachel or
No, Rachel's.
no Rachel?
Not.
I will be doing the food bank report. I'm passing this up.
All right.
Just have to share. I apologize.
Okay, no problem.
We have one extra. Okay, so as you see in the book report, it says that, that our last pop-up pantry, so this was done. This report was not done for the one that we just completed. So that previous pantry, I believe, probably was either November's or something like that. But 177 food boxes went out, combined households, about 390 individuals. Emergency food boxes, we also delivered, home delivered emergency food boxes, so using the Jeep to take boxes to individuals who need boxes. That was 8. And then the holiday food drive, we did about 85 boxes. I believe we did about 100 in December, so the December food holiday boxes went out more. To cover the cost from those, that we had 3 very gracious donations that came from the Oconee County Democratic Office, as well as Consumers Energy and the Mankato Food Bank. We want to thank the Mankato Food Bank. They did a fundraiser, which was kind of crazy because I called them and I said, hey, we got your check in the mail by accident. But they did a fundraiser on behalf of us and raised over $600 and gave us those funds.
Is that
towards our
through
food
St.
bank.
Through
St. Vincent.
St. Benny's?
So St. Vincent, we thank you for that and we appreciate it. Because like I said, I scratched my head and I was like, okay, this is great.
Where'd it come
But
from? Yeah.
here, I think the post office man made a mistake because that check here belongs to you. And they're like, no, it's yours. We did a fundraiser for you guys and we didn't tell you. So really awesome. What also is not listed here, but we want to say thank you as well because everybody matters, especially when you donate. The marijuana dispensary in Harrisville did a food drive for samples. And they came back almost with a full truckload. One of our short box trucks was full of food that we were able to get out to our community. So thank you to the Harrisville dispensary for their donations as well. We raised a total of $220 in ornaments that were sold at Dollar General's in Lincoln and the Family Dollar in Harrisville. So just those 2 locations that allowed us to put those ornaments in, we raised $227 in that. I'm going to pass around a piece of paper. About a month and a half ago, I targeted a grant through the food bank of Eastern Michigan. It was for $10,000. We did receive that grant, not fully funded. We got $8,500 for that grant. So we got about 85%, which, 85% is better than 0%. So the target of that grant was to target food shelving. The reason why the food bank shelves are downstairs because it's the largest of our pantries. So we targeted the grant for a computer, more so of a tough book, and additional shelving and racks that we would like to do. I handed out to you before the food bank report a estimate from Jeremiah Pagels. He's a licensed carpenter. We reached out to contractors and they basically said shelving is too small potatoes. So we found a local carpenter who'll be willing to build us some shelves. So what we would do, we would pull out the shelves that are currently down into that room. The reason being is that the shelves are only 12 inches. We will want to get at least 2 feet deep, so that we can put more in that room and maximize that space. Also, we're combining what's in there now. We have metal racks and wood racks. And because everything is not uniform, we're losing about probably 25 to 30 cubic feet of storage because we have spaces that is not utilized and used. So that room is only going to be the food bank. So we're going to pull out all the janitorial supplies out of that room as well. So He gave me a room-to-room breakdown. We also tapped him to redesign the storage area underneath the stairs. He said that that was pretty much falling apart. If you give it a good pull, the whole shelving case is going to fall. So that's where we're going to have janitorial supplies. That's going to go along with the cart, so Ron can be able to pull his cart in, pull his cart out, have all of his supplies on that cart. So the total cost for the project with materials is going to be $2,371, with labor being somewhere at about $2,400. So the total cost to get new shelving in the pantry as well as underneath the stairs, about $4,771. As you have already heard, I wrote a grant and got $8,500. So the project is already paid for. This is normally how I try to do things. I see a need and I try to find a grant to pay for it. So with that being said, that's lower than the threshold that I need for participation or requirement. However, I just wanted the board to know that that's what's going to happen if you start hearing some banging and things that are happening.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing additional shelving. So that's what's happening with the food bank and doing with that. The reason why we got a Tough Book tablet is to streamline the interaction with the client. What's happening is that I have been asking our staff to pass out a needs report with the food boxes. So this is, are you needing any weatherization help? Do you need any additional services? Do you need help with wood? You know, these reports that are just snap captures, because sometimes people don't know that we offer transportation. People don't know that they can get in-home services because they're 60 years old. So what we want to be able to do, instead of having 800 pins in one hand and 500 documents in another, we want to be able to use a computer, a laptop, or a tablet and be able to interview these individuals really quickly using a stylus and say, okay, at what point do you need, what services can we help you with? So then we check these boxes, and then we are able to instantaneously send those reports to those employees that are working. Because when we have all of this paper, once we take it in, it takes a while to take the paper, to upload it into our system, and then divvy that up. That's about a week in an hour in time. So what we're trying to do is streamline that process so that there is no lag, because one of the check boxes, it states, I need help now. And so we go through and we try to look really quickly. I believe the first time we did it, we got over 175 of those. And out of the 175, I think we got 60 referrals. So, you know, that's a lot of paper to go through to make sure that we're catching all these individuals, because not only, you know, these individuals have to be caught, but these individuals have to be entered into our systems. So we're hoping to streamline that process. And using a Tough Book, you know, if you've seen it, it's like an armored case. So if they drop it, they better not, but if they do drop it, it should not shatter and break. So that's kind of what we're looking at trying to do. Also, it gives us the capability of using a RFID scanner. So if any of those individuals who are coming to our pop-up pantry can present their My Senior Center card, they can just scan and go. So thank you for checking in today. Is there any services that you think you might need? Is there any assistance? You see how quickly now the streamlined process happens. So we're not at the car for 2 and 3 hours trying to do an assessment. This is something that the state of Michigan has kind of been pushing, is their no wrong door policy, that no matter how you access services in a particular agency, they want you to try to see if there's any additional need. So that way people don't fall through the cracks. So that's our goal, and that's our hope, to try to do that. And this is, like I said, the reason why I wrote the grant, to target that. Any questions for the food services?
I have a comment. Are you aware of that food that we got from Harrisville there? A lot of that was outdated, and Michelle had to go through it and throw quite a bit of stuff out.
I'm aware, because that's normally how most food bank food comes from. They come from shopping centers that they have outdated, and most of it, if it's canned and sealed, the Food and Drug Administration, the thing that licenses says that it can be a year, sometimes in certain cases indefinitely, depending on the product, because we have so many preservatives in our food. that the best buy date, most people now even call it expiration date, they say best buy date, because it's just a suggested date that they have to put something to cover their own backside. So yes, I am aware, nobody, not in our current society, is going to give their best food for free. They're going to want some type of monetary, excuse me, that they're going to want some monetary investment in their product. So we get the bread that's about to end, the cans of food that's about to end,
Right.
the meat that they can't grind up and make more ground meat out of. So those are the things that we get, and we try to get those out as fast as we possibly can.
Right.
So that's our goal.
And if you've ever taken the classes through the FDA, through MSU, it's perfectly safe as long as it's not bulging. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fine.
I have a question on the shelving. You said you got a local contractor?
Uh-huh.
Who would the
Jeremiah,
local contractor be?
Jeremiah, it says on
It says
here.
so- His name is Jeremiah Pagels.
I didn't get it.
Oh,
Oh,
I didn't
Here
get
you go.
well, we
anything.
were sharing,
okay.
remember?
Here you go.
So did we get 3 estimates or
We
did you
went-
just go with one?
No,
You
we
can't
went through,
find
we went through,
Yeah.
3 contractors, and 3 contractors
That's
said,
what I was asking.
said, no, your job is too small for us to do
Not
that. We're booked
interested.
up for the next year. So we went through smaller. We said, okay, how about a carpenter, somebody who works with wood? And I said, would this be in your scope? He said, yes, good, let's go with that.
He is a hardworking young man.
Any other questions on the food service? All right. Kinship Program, Brooke, you're up.
All right, hi everyone. So I oversee the Kinship Program, and lately we've renewed 3 applications. And with those 3 applications, the most common need for assistance was for winter coats, hats, boots, and gloves, and then just clothes for the grandchildren. And that's pretty much it with the Kinship Program, but I also oversee the telephone reassurance program and the McLaren case management program. With telephone reassurance, I'm making daily welfare calls to 38 senior participants. And lately I've been helping a lot with transferring them to the proper employee here to handle their needs and questions. A lot of it has been with home delivered meals and information about the pop-up pantries. And then with our case management program, so far we have 4 referrals, and 1 referral is for housing assistance, and the other 3 are for emergency room utilizations, for which we try to find ways to keep these clients' emergency room visits throughout the year down to a minimum, if any at all. And that's it for my programs.
All right, thank you, Brooke. Any questions?
Sounds like she's busy.
Yeah, very busy. Tony, financial reports, please.
Hold on, let me just see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So happy New Year, everybody. Sorry, my camera's a little weird. I was just wondering, I know I put together the financial reports that that you've gotten in the past, but I know last time there was a request to sort of streamline some of them and kind of condense them into one report. So I did do a spreadsheet, which you should have, that accumulates all of the programs together. So it's got the grand totals of all of our expenses and all of our income. And I don't know if this is something like, Will, is this going to be kind of along the lines of what you were looking for? Is this okay? Should I tweak anything?
This is exactly what I was looking for.
Okay. Yeah, so I can understand that the other reports, there's a lot of information to absorb. So I figure going forward, I will continue this spreadsheet and also attach the program. That way, if you see something and want to dig a little bit further as far as the expenses or income, you still have that information at your fingertips. So basically this spreadsheet, like I said, is an accumulation of every program. It's the administration costs and everything like that. So you can see our expenses for December. I'm sorry. Our expenses for December were $102,000, just over $102,000, and our income was just over $75,000. So I also put a breakdown of our difference at the bottom there. Basically, I know there's not a whole lot to talk about. Cindy did a really good job with her presentation as far as the finances from our audit. So I just want to hit kind of a little bit on like our client donations were down in December. That's typical because it's around Christmas time, around the holidays. However, you will see our program income was up from the previous months, and that's because we did get a lot of outside donations. I know Lenny mentioned a few of them for the food bank. We did get quite a few donations for our holiday food boxes. Some staff members and board members also helped pitch in some money for that. We've got big donations from like the Barton Cities Ladies Auxiliary, the Spruce Presbyterian Women's Association, as well as like Lenny said, the St. Vincent's, Consumers Energy, the Alcona Democratic Party, like a lot of community members and a lot of community organizations really pitched in. And so a lot of that money did go to the food bank. So the food bank received almost $4,000 in donations last month, which is really nice. Other than that, I guess there's not a whole lot I wanted to touch on, but I didn't know if anyone had any specific questions for me in regards to this report.
Tony?
I have a question, Tony. On page 2A, it says we had a fundraiser, a quilt raffle. When did we have that?
No, I'm sorry. Something was coded incorrectly on the general ledger. So I did get with Jennifer, our accountant, and we fixed that. It was supposed to go to, I think, I can't remember now off the top of my head, but it has been corrected. I just didn't have time for the corrected report to make it in the board book because she sent it to me afterwards. I didn't catch it until I was doing the board books. So yes, no, that is not a quilt raffle. It has been corrected. And I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I can't remember what that expense was for.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tony? No? Okay, thank you, Tony. Lenny, Executive Director's report.
So I have a lot to get to. I'm going to take it in parts. So I know we have another person that's supposed to be coming in and taking the time at 11:25. So we can take one of these and pass it around. What I'm passing around is the Operation Standard for Service Program, or OSSP. This is our governance, our guidance for governance for all the programs that we provide through the Aging and Adult Service Administration, or known as ACCOA, which continues to change its names. It's changed its name again this year because people like to change their names, especially in the government. So I want to point everybody, Mary, you can have one, I believe. I want to point everybody to section number 1 in minimum standards. It says each center shall be certified as an accessible facility. Accessibility is defined as the ability for a person with disability to enter the facility, use a restroom, and receive services that is at least equal in quality to provide the able-bodied participation or participant. So what we have had and what we've kind of struggled being able to do is to allow our disabled participants access to our upstairs. So I understand our long-term goal is to have a new facility, but while we're here, we have to start looking at making some repairs and spending some money in this building. So what we're going to have to, take a consideration is With government projects, it takes 2, 3, 4 years to get some of these projects off the ground. So it could be 2025, 2026 before we start seeing some of the fruits of our labor of what we did back in 2020. So I went ahead and I reached out to certain individuals, starting with Omega Electric. I got them to send me a quote. This quote is for putting a new 220 line or 40 amp circuit for a potential chairlift that's going to be here at the door. I reached out to a few agencies that do a chairlift, and 2 of them gave me back quotes, and one you'll see why I want to go with the one versus the other. Again, this is to allow for more accessibility in our building. The reason why we're just looking at doing one chairlift is because if you try to put a chairlift down in that basement, they're going to get smushed right where the lip comes and the chairlift would come up. So literally the participant would have to pancake themselves in order to get up and down the stairs. So the only other way that we would be able to allow access is that the person would have to come outside, go down the sidewalk, come into the building to get into the basement, and then come up the stairs and come up to here. And, I know people are not here every day and people think that I'm crazy by putting things up, but people use it. We have people all the time who use our treadmills. We have people all around who still walk. Just because it doesn't happen when the people who are here at the board shows up that 1 to 2 times, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. People show up, people use this equipment, and they're thankful for it. And they come in, and that's the reason why you see the door that says the gym is closed, because they would be here exercising at those particular times. So I want to make it more accessible. So putting that amp, it's about $1,500. So that's $1,554. I did not make additional copy of this, but I will pass it around. I got 2 proposals. I got one for what's called Express 2 stair lifts. And these are really high-tech stair lifts that ride like a little track up and down. If you've seen them in some of these big hotels or big banks, and he came back with an estimate of $28,000. And then I got another company, I believe out of Traverse City, and his estimate was $7,500.
So these
He sounds like-
chairlifts, the user could do it on their own.
Yeah, so basically
Without
so-
assistance.
so here's what happens. So basically, it's basically what we have on our bus.
I've seen.
So you
them.
pull up, they lift up
Yeah.
really slow, boom here, and then it opens up like a gate, like for, like you see a horse track or whatever, and that would allow the person to wheel forward.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. In an event of an emergency,
Doesn't work.
it works, but it's gonna have to be controlled. We're gonna have to go up and down. We're gonna have to be able to, help these individuals who are wheelchair bound. Ideally, we could not, I got 2 quotes back when I first started this for $75,000 with 2 L switchbacks to put a ramp outside these doors. Then that would be 55 feet. So that would go all the way down to the front of the building, switching back with an L, coming back this way, switching back again, coming back to the ground. So that's what the contractor said, because we have 16
Because
feet
of our
worth of
incline,
rise, and
yeah.
you need at least every inch of rise, you need a foot of run. So
Right.
we would have to go almost 50 feet. So that would take the entire front of the building, switching back to come all the way down to street level in order for us to do that.
Well,
And it
And
frees
then
it
you've
up.
got weather and you've got ice and
Right.
snow.
Somebody's gotta
and all
keep it
that
up.
to-
Right.
Yeah.
So this
Clear.
is my attempt to compromise. I didn't build this building back in 1945, but I am trying to utilize it to the best of our ability, much like
So-
our Jeep.
Could there be like a button that if a person came in here and they needed help with that lift, they could press it and somebody down? could come up or
The cameras are always monitored, but we
Okay.
can put an emergency,
something?
Maybe a
there
doorbell
is an
Yeah.
emergency phone up here, that people can use to call down.
Say
you
they
know,
need help.
They need assistance. But this is more so again for like, for individuals who need to come up and use it for, who rent the hall for special gatherings,
or something.
or things like that. I don't want people
A
to have
meeting,
to
whatever.
pick up, participant to get them inside the door. Like I said, this is kind of putting Band-Aid on a gaping wound. We do need a different building, but this is an attempt to
This
try
will
to,
work, yeah.
Now,
so,
if we do all this, is the building, no, the inspector or whoever gonna come in and say, okay, you're changing that. Now you gotta change this and this and this, because right now we're grandfathered in. If we make any changes, at least this is what we were told when we were talking about air conditioning. If you make these changes, now you're gonna have to make all these changes.
I don't.
Well, here's the thing, unless I hear it from the inspector, I usually don't take, hearsay.
Well, we should check into that before we go too far with this.
Because here's the thing.
This is a compliance issue.
Right, and here's the thing,
for
I would much rather do
handicap.
something than nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, just
Right.
because we don't want to have to make the investment is not a good enough excuse to not do anything. So we will reach out. I will put that on there to the inspector. We'll get an inspector, but I believe that is.
Well,
Is it the inspector that does, do you know, Bill?
I don't think
Who
that's. a
would
thing.
be, who would be the one to talk to see if we make any changes, when we have to make all the changes?
Well, the question is a permit required
Yes.
to do this?
I don't know.
That's
A
the
permit.
only thing that would initiate
is-
an inspection of any kind. Is
Yeah.
if a permit had to be pulled for it.
right.
Then this
And-
is just a handicap compliance issue, so I don't really think that's gonna trigger electrical or anything else. I
Right.
can't imagine that it would.
I mean, it didn't require anything when I took the power off the front of the grid here, so
Right.
that, to change
Exactly, yeah.
that didn't do it. And all they're doing is running a 40 amp line from the line inside the building, right there to power this lift.
Lenny, could you, try to get, well, I have it on my. Had Acorn, stair lift,
I'm sorry, what now?
Acorn stair lift.
What's that?
They advertise, do quite a bit of advertising at times on television, and we, years ago, we tried to get something in here, stair lift like that. And we got Acorn, and they came over and looked at everything. And we go from downstairs up and make the fall there and come up in here. And I was just wondering if the
I don't know if they still exist.
Like I said, I looked at that, unless you have a side saddle, and then again, I'm a tall person, but I measured sitting and squatting. I have to duck my head, especially when you get to step number 4, sitting. And what I want to do is make sure that someone is comfortable. Like I said, getting access from that basement stairs is very difficult. I even looked at, if I took out the women's bathroom and just made an elevator lift, again, that was $150,000. I've looked at all of these different options, and I believe what we can do is put a Band-Aid, and that's the simplest lift. I even looked at coming and eliminating that storage room and coming in through the side of the door, like taking out the wall and making a ramp access from there, and then coming into the building through that closet access. That was another suggestion. That was $55,000 to knock out a wall and to make
And then you
make
have
that a ramp.
whole door, outside door and all that
Right.
business.
Right, okay, so
And
I,
that might trigger a,
so,
That would trigger,
That would be.
that would be a trigger when you do something on the
Inspectable
outside. Yeah.
situation.
okay, so I have time maybe to do one more. Any
Okay.
questions on that? No?
No.
Yes, no? Okay, so, are we good to proceed with that? I mean, it's what beneath the threshold, but like I said, I would like to proceed with that, to be in compliance, to allow access upstairs for our handicap accessible clients. Maybe they want to come up and just hang out while somebody's walking and just wheel
We need
around.
to
with
be
them.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
it's something that should have been done, yeah.
yeah, should have
Long
been
time
done.
ago.
Because basically, the way we get around that is by actually saying that the upstairs is
Go
not
outside.
accessible, is not accessible for anybody with disabilities, which I don't want to do. that.
No,
I
So-
think you should at least talk to the building inspector though and get their opinion.
what you can do is call this company and ask them if they pull
Yeah,
permits
if
to
they
do
pull
this kind
permits.
of work. If they
Okay.
don't, then
It doesn't
it's a
matter.
non-issue.
Okay.
Right.
I think, Dolores, I wasn't on the board, but I think
when there was the threat that you had to update everything in the building, that was an elevator instead of a lift.
Well, we
Because
talked
you would
about-
be impacting major electrical and
We
structural.
We talked about the
stuff.
elevator, but we also talked about air conditioning. And that they said if you change anything, right now we're grandfathered in, but if you start changing stuff, then you gotta change everything to get it up to code, to get this building up to code. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yes, that's, then we'll make sure that we don't get into that hole.
Yes.
Okay, so
So are we voting on
I got
that?
5 minutes now to talk about the next issue. So we were asked by our partners, our community partners, if the community center would be, or if ACCOA would consider being a warming station. This is again the reason why for the lift. This is the reason why, again, me thinking about this. We had a lot of power outages because of wind.
Right.
The school is set up as a warming station. However, I don't know what their guidelines are. You know, I know we strategically work in geriatric services. So I went ahead and said, okay, what would that entail? In order for us to become a warming station, we would need to get a Generac type style generator in order to work it. That would run off of natural gas. So I reached out again and I did 2 quotes. You have in front of you 2 different quotes. So I also came through the little policy of what is a warming station, what is a cooling station. This should already be in your books, I believe,
Oh, okay.
is the Generac under executive director, maybe, I
New
think.
project.
These quotes, these big giant, but you know, if not, take one, pass it around. Here you go. So these Generac generators, you guys might have to share. I apologize. It takes a lot of paper and there's 27 pages. So you guys, there's 2 different options for the generator. There is a 22 watt and then there's a 44 watt generator option. And the 22 is more for residential.
Right.
And that would run our freezers and that would run our basic information, like our basic stuff that we would use. Our, you know, our heat in the building. Well, so not so much, it could, but that, you know, the guy basically said that would run basically the freezer, the refrigerator unit primarily, just that.
Just basically survival. sort of
Right.
stuff.
Oh,
So we were lucky that in the great power outage of Lincoln, not to be knocked off the grid. If that ever were to happen, we would lose a lot of food.
yes.
So doing nothing is not an option, okay? We need to choose, okay? The other option is the $30,000 option, which would run the entirety of the building. Now, whatever we choose is portable, okay? So if in 3 to 4 years to build a new building there, we can move that unit to the new building. I anticipate your questions. So yes, so whatever we would invest in
Goes with us.
would go with us. Like I said, doing nothing should not be an option. I do not want a gas powered generator that somebody has to be there to pull and crank. It would be run off of natural gas. So the moment the power goes out, this
12
generator
second
would kick
switch,
in and then it would start working. Okay?
Wonderful.
Yeah, I have
They
one
are,
too.
absolutely.
So
Everybody needs one.
so my question is, would we want to consider being a warming station? Because again, if we're in for a penny, we're in for a pound. The penny would just run our current freezer systems, and that would be $16,000 at 22,000. Or we do a full building generator that would run our heat, lights. We could run operations as if nothing ever happened.
What's the requirement of personnel to be here in the event that this warming station opens up?
That's something that we would have to get with once we would register as a
You
warming
would
station.
be, like, have a list of whoever's available to be, I mean, because obviously then you don't just open the door and they.
They don't, no, they
Come
don't.
and take
And,
care of
you know,
themselves.
and these are things too, like
So you need a volunteer
We'd have
list
to have
to
volunteers,
accommodate
yeah.
that, if
So-
that's what would happen.
exactly. So this would be like some of the stuff I found on
Oh, I got
Amazon.
that,
So like
yeah.
emergency cots, you know, that we could, you know, utilize. Like I
That would
said,
be a
I really
emergency
don't
shelter.
see this being like a shelter you would think
No.
in a big city.
No, we're
If
just talking more.
we're
We're not a
talking maybe
big
5 or
city.
6 people, maybe
Yeah.
10 people.
But still.
But if there ever was an event that knocked out power for days, you know, we could offer and say,
Even
this
if
is
it
available.
was only for the downtown resident, there's residents
Yeah.
that are right in town here.
Exactly,
that don't
so this,
have that ability.
and the other generator, the larger generator would still allow us to cook.
And that's
So
what, 20 or 30?
You
That'd be
asked
30.
Dan when he was here the other day that they are a designated
Warming
center
station, yes,
already,
they are a
right?
designated
So
warming
there
station.
is one close by.
Right,
So we wouldn't necessarily have to volunteer to be a warming center. Because
If
there
we
is
get
one
that one,
near
no,
That
so-
has a big capacity to take people in there.
Right.
So the real issue is the generator.
the generator,
Yeah.
the generator, the big one or the small one, either way, we need one. If we do the big generator, it allows us to continue to come in, cook food, be able to do everything. Our
Be able to
computers, our
function,
internet,
yeah.
all, maybe not our internet, but our computers and things will still be able to work just fine. And there wouldn't be any issues. We can continue with operations. The smaller yes, sir.
If you, and I'm sure you've already considered, but if you become a warming station and everything that involves, Consumer Energy has grants for communities that are doing that, that do more than just warm. They offer the foods and so forth. I'm sure you're already maybe looking, but
I
they-
talked to Rich about that.
Okay, he's a good one to be.
He didn't have any immediate grants at the moment to help pay for the startup. But once that starts and we start doing it,
There would
be
some,
some other
yeah, maybe
supports.
foods,
Because
maybe-
he was at someplace giving away pizza
Right.
that
Yeah.
had a generator
At
and
the
they-
bistro.
at the bistro, and they were able to give away pizza in the event. And he said, Lenny, this only just makes sense if we want to just do this here. Everyone knows this, we can do that. And I said, well, okay, let me start looking around for places for carts. And a lot of people kept saying, hey, talk to your county about their opera dollars. And I'm like, well, so, these are the things that we would look at to do and make an investment. So we need to make a decision,
Would we
big one or
have to,
small.
would we have to hire our cooks to come and cook? If we have
I
people
don't think you're
sleeping up here?
obligated to feed.
No.
You're
No.
not,
So you're
I mean,
just a
it's not,
warming station.
it's
Yeah.
not, it's not an obligation, but it's an opportunity to help people who would be in need. And, and if we did, we would give that option and say, okay, who, can we be generous? Can we use this fund? Can we pay for this? I think if we don't want to be a warmer station, that's all fine and good. However, we still need one of these things,
Either one of the, we need a,
I'm sorry, I'm just speaking without even asking.
That's all right. Don't worry
Sorry.
about it.
On the issue of the size of the generator,
Mhm.
because you did mention it's transportable, wouldn't
Mhm.
it make sense to go large? Because if you transport it to a new facility, you're gonna need
it's gonna
that
have to
and
be
more,
large. Yeah.
probably.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems short-sighted to only cover the freezers.
Yeah.
Well,
And I know from my own house, I mean, I didn't care that I couldn't do laundry. I was not worried about the washer and dryer, but the fact is, at least at Lost Lake Woods, we have more outages in the summer than we do actually in the winter. And so we hadn't plugged in, we didn't plug in like our air conditioning
Mhm.
initially or any of that stuff. And the first really bad outage we had was on one of those August, 95-degree days, and I had company in my house. And I was
Right.
like, so, but anyway, to me, I know just on a residential level, I was happy that we chose to get the bigger capacity.
Yeah,
Just
I-
to cover.
and truly, I'm speaking out of turn too.
Yes.
Truly, to do a residential size generator in a building that's considered a public building
Yeah,
is really kind of foolish.
Yeah.
yeah,
you know.
because there are still things that need to be met here. People need to
Toilets
work,
flushing,
I
I mean,
whatever. Sorry,
Well-
Roland, you're trying to be polite, and we're just
you just keep.
yapping.
Yeah, Rollins over there waving. Go ahead.
Well, since we talked all about this, I would like to make a motion to go with the bigger generator.
Okay, thank you.
Just-
Okay,
I
Do
have a
it.
question
Yeah.
before we do that. If we do get this bigger generator and we don't get our new building for 8 or 10 years, is this new generator gonna be outdated by the time we get our new building?
No,
They don't go out?
They don't spoil.
not
Okay.
really.
They don't spoil.
And you have them serviced once a year. They also kick on once a week to
Test out, test.
test.
Test out Wednesdays
You
or
have them
Thursdays.
serviced and oiled once a year.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Okay,
So
so
Okay,
we
we
have
have
a
a
motion.
second?
We have a motion.
We have a motion. Will seconded it to go with the larger generator.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
No, because then we could come and sit in the parking lot, and use their internet if we don't have.
That's
We don't have power,
That's
so.
right.
yay.
Where do you put that? Where do you
The
have
outside.
that?
It's gonna be right here underneath one of our cameras.
It
Because-
goes
In the building, in the
No.
building?
No, right outside,
outside, but
right where the
there's a
picnic
panel,
table-
Electrical panel on the inside that coincides with the electrical panel in here.
So basically, there's two
Wherever.
places we could put it. We could put it there, or we could put it down at the panel down by the front door down there. But it weighs 2,000 pounds. It's like the front end of a car. It's not going there. Now, even though we approved this, it's still gonna take 9 months because everything's backed up, but we need to get in line.
We need to definitely get.
Yeah.
So,
We haven't approved it yet, though.
I know, right?
All right, so we have
Roll.
properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? We already had. All in favor, say aye.
Okay, spending
Do
money.
we need a?
Oh, yeah, we need a roll call vote. Yep, you're right.
Okay, Dolores,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Will.
Yep.
Stan,
Yes.
Lenny, you don't get.
I don't
to
get a vote.
So,
I just get
okay,
to spend
so-
the money.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
motion
ayes.
carries unanimously.
Perfect.
So go with the larger generator.
Awesome. So get on. No.
All right. Sarah, is the other person coming or should I, or is she late?
That's it for your report, right?
No, I have a couple more things. Oh, are you muted? Wait, why can't I hear you?
Sarah. you can't hear.
She's not muted.
I cannot hear
Still
you
can't
now.
hear you.
Oh, still.
There, she mute, did you see muted? Is that just the mute button?
That's
That's
the
a
mute
me to mute her. Meg, can you hear me? Can you unmute and see if it's some the problem with our sound?
I can hear you.
Okay, so
Okay,
then
we
it's
can hear you
something
now.
with Sarah's sound. My basic question with the nod, Sarah, is the other guest still coming? Yes or no? Okay, so then I may have time to present one more. Okay. Okay, again, in the small interim of, again, talking about needing to fix our building. Currently, we have been spending about $700 using Alcona septic, especially when it's cold. We have a backup. It happens like the Red Sea. It bubbles up from the ladies' bathroom and kind of just spills out onto the floor. Luckily for us, it hasn't been after someone that's flushed or used the facilities, but it's just water. So what we have realized that there is a freezing problem backed up from the back part of that side over here. And really the only way for this to fix is what we've been doing is been putting a Band-Aid on a wound, is running hot water down the line to get it. So in order for us not to continue to do this, there is a way to do it right. And that's pulling up the concrete at the entrance of our parking lot, right here where our vehicles park in, and fixing that line so that there is no freezing going back up the septic.
Here or?
There. So because what happens is it freezes and then overflows, and then all the overflow goes onto the street, which makes ice and everything else. So
Yeah.
that's the initial estimate. I'm waiting for him to get back to me. I told him I would present that to the board, but that, he said initial between $5,000 to $7,500 in running that 150 to 200 feet from the source line and fixing that. I don't know if that's a village fix, but I don't believe so because that's basically our plumbing. So that's something that we would have to address. but like I said,
They may kick in.
we're gonna have, we're in this building. We're in this building till we're not in this building. So we need to look at making some fixes, and that's another fix.
That's a
Because-
reasonable,
We don't have-
improvement. I mean, anybody that bought it or used it in the future would expect those things to work. So-
Yeah.
Right, so, and this is the thing too, like, I just don't want to continue to it happens. It so far has happened to us twice, and he's a $275, person that now we have to mop all the women's bathroom and the carpets there because it's flooded again. So, and, and our staff doesn't want to continue to ask the bank to use, and the bank says no, and then they have to drive to Chris Mart to use a public restroom because we don't have access.
It seems a
Again,
little
it's
odd.
in the compliance, we need to be able to do this. So when this back, if it's under a set amount, if it's under my threshold, am I good to move forward with this?
Yeah.
Can it be done this winter yet?
I don't know. I'm getting this guy back, he's gonna get back to me. He said that he would have this ready for our board meeting. As you see, a lot of people up here are not motivated to move fast by money, which I
Just
don't
finding
understand
out.
that.
Yeah.
I do not understand that. I mean, I come from the South and people like, wait, I have a chance to make X amount of dollars? I am on your butt. Up here, it's like, oh, I'm gonna make 16,000. Yeah, I'll get you next week.
Yeah.
Okay. We did do the freezer unit. The freezer unit was delivered. I believe the guy is up there freezing his butt off now or tomorrow, I think. But either way, he'll be installing the freezer unit.
Looks like
With
your
that
first-
said, I am gonna pause my director's report because our guests are here. So then someone would need to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who wants to read the,
Not that we-
Time to go into closed session.
yep, Will, can you do that?
I would be happy to do that. I will think, make that motion to move the meeting into a closed session. Nicholas attorney regarding settlement strategy.
Yeah, keep it warm for me.
In connection with specific pending litigation, to do so in an open meeting would have detrimental financial effect on the litigating or settlement position of the Alcona County Commission on Aging.
And we're also going into closed session to discuss the new contract with the county and personnel issues. So Will has made the motion. We need a second. Roland has seconded it. We need a roll call vote, please, to go into closed session.
Okay, Kim?
Yes.
Mike? Yes.
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
Dolores?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
So
And Will? Yeah.
And
You made the motion, so.
are they still supposed to be here?
I'm about to kick them all out. Well,
except for
our two guests. So as of right now, it is 11:37. I am pausing the recording.
all opposed. Okay, so we are back into open session briefly.
You were entertain that motion.
I would entertain a motion, to accept the advice of our attorney based on her legal opinion in the matter at hand.
I would make that motion to accept the advice of our attorney with respect to the matter at hand.
Okay, it's been moved,
Second.
been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, we do need a roll call vote, please.
Mhm. All right, Dolores?
Yes.
Roland? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
All right.
All right, we have all ayes. The motion carries. I would now entertain a motion to go back into closed session to discuss personnel matter and the new contract with the county.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Back into closed session for the personnel matter and the contract with the county.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. We do need a roll call vote, please.
Okay.
To go back into session?
In the closed session.
Dolores,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Kim, yes. Will,
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
That's it. Okay, so. I go get.
I don't even know Mary's downstairs, but we can go see if she
I'll
is.
go downstairs and see. Why don't you guys get started on
So,
Lenny, the
yeah, I'll do the new business.
new business revolution dance?
So
and I have new
Revolution
business
Dance
as well.
basically has, send a letter, it's in your board packet. Is that basically her payment to ACCOA was to do senior classes. Because of COVID and a couple of other decisions, these classes, these people are not showing up for the class. So she's sitting there for an hour with nothing to do. So she is offered to pay more in rent, or you guys to decide what her new obligation would be. Because she can't do it any earlier in the day because of her primary job, but she still wants to try to do something. So she wrote in the letter that due to circumstances out of my control, COVID, daylight savings, there has been little to no interest in class offered specifically for seniors. I would like to propose striking that requirement of the offer of a senior's specific class in exchange for increased rental rate. The current rate of reimbursement for in-kind services is about $25 an hour. So she took for that hour, multiply that by 4. She said that she'd be willing to pay $100. You guys could come with a counter proposal, but this is what she said, that instead of offering them classes for the hour, she just pays the extra rent or whatever you guys decide. But again, this is the reason why we're looking at changing congregate meals, because no one's coming, doing congregate lunch.
Right.
Because people don't want to come late and do all these late classes.
And that's for this time of year, that's understandable. Well, so what else does she use the space for?
Just, she teaches classes after hours. So after pretty much the center is closed, she uses the space to
So-
teach class.
Originally in exchange, she was exchanging
Free,
to do free things for seniors, and that's not happening.
Mhm.
because nobody's coming.
Like she would normally, she was doing line dancing at the time. She had like 6 or 7
And that
students.
was cool.
And that was fine. It was up. Then we had a surge, then we had closing, then
Yeah.
mandatory vaccinations, and then people stopped coming.
I think we should do as she would like. And then if it changes, if our seniors start coming back,
Show
then we can
interest in
read.
that area, we can think about it differently another time. That's fine.
Well, yeah.
I move that we accept the proposal.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right.
Could I make a suggestion? Could we accept the proposal for 6 months or 5 months or 3 months? Because hopefully some of these seniors will in fact come back. I mean, it's good for them, you know? Can we do that or not really?
Like I said, I don't have a
Time
determinate
limit on
time.
this Proposal,
There is no time limit on it, I don't believe, is there?
No,
she or we would be free to
okay, so we should just,
go back anytime. I think.
Right, I mean, if you guys
Yeah, we
want to
can
negotiate or
renegotiate
ask,
it. If the interest arises again and people want to do that, then we can certainly revisit it again.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
so I guess you guys would have to vote. Is she still down there?
No, she left.
Yeah, I figured.
I figured too.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Okay, your job is now to say, all in favor.
all in favor? Yeah.
Okay, what are we all in favoring?
The revolution
Revolution
dance.
dance proposal.
Oh, okay.
So she wants to remove the clause because there's nobody showing up to class and she doesn't want to sit for an hour.
Okay,
So they're removing that clause and doing an in-kind contribution. So the going rate is $25. So she would pay $100 in rent a month for that in-kind contribution.
Is that 1 day a week or 2?
What is? She
The-
was
the
offering
dance
class?
kids.
Yeah, no.
2, I think, wasn't it?
What?
My granddaughter comes to 1.
No, it's not the kids.
Oh,
It's
different.
not the
It's for
kids.
Oh,
the
okay.
Yeah,
seniors.
we were having her teach at least one class a week for the seniors.
Right, but
So,
For free in lieu of rent.
yeah,
Right.
for free in lieu of rent.
Okay.
but she is using our hall and paying $100 for 2 evenings a week.
No, she's
No.
did multiple evenings,
How many?
like 4.
Oh, she's using it 4 days a week.
Yes.
Okay.
that's-
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, I
Okay.
think, no,
Yeah.
1 day a week, Friday, she doesn't have any class.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So-
All right, so it's been moved and seconded, I assume. Discussion's been done. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay.
Okay, under other new business, we've already talked about, you know, what happens in committee and closed session is not to be shared until it's brought to the board for a vote. Then that information then becomes public. And so just keep that in mind as we spoke. I mean, we're not some big professional corporate board, so we're not used to this necessarily, but we just need to watch how we communicate. And then the vehicles, I promised I'd bring that up.
Well, we need to approve the contract. Are
We have to
gonna-
do that.
You gonna do the contract?
Oh, yeah, we'll do
And-
that.
and
Let's,
the vehicle.
let's do that first. And then we have one thing under old business, but I'll move it to new business.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the contract with the county.
Second.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
make the motion if you
I'll
want.
second.
Okay, second. So the contract as presented, the motion is authorizing me to sign the contract and approve it.
Okay, so that's Will and, okay.
First, Will, and then Kim. Any discussion on that? That we already had, actually, it was closed session. So all in favor, it's a contract, we probably ought to do
It
it.
has to do with money.
Yeah, let's do a roll call just to be safe.
Okay, Dolores,
Yes.
Yes,
Mike, yes.
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Will,
Yes. Yes.
Stan. Okay, good enough.
All right, motion carries.
To sign the contract.
Contract is, today's the 25th, right?
Yes.
All right, contract is signed. Okay. All right, on to the vehicles. We need,
It's the 25th, isn't it?
that's what I said.
Oh, I thought it said 26.
No, 25th. Vehicles. We were gonna talk about
Moving
Grant.
forward for those.
moving
that grant.
forward with looking at purchasing a couple of vehicles to increase our capabilities in the transportation department.
can we trade Zeke in on one?
Well, from the sounds of it, you're not gonna get a hell of a lot for it, but
Well, what
you
if-
know,
It's probably worth the $500 to drive it till it dies.
It's
Because
just
that's what you
sitting out
get.
there, so.
yeah, if you're lucky, you get, well, Lenny has used it for some of those food boxes.
Well, I mean, it's an asset. It has not got itself to a point to where it's all four flats.
It doesn't owe you anything.
Right, and that's the thing. So
But we are paying insurance on it and
that it's so negligible.
Yeah.
I
within the-
would recommend we hang on to it till we obtain other vehicles
And
and
then
then let
decide.
it go.
So we
you
have,
know,
we have two options
Just in case.
with this. We have one USDA grant that can be applied to one project. To the generator or to the vehicles. So we need to decide, because I can only do paperwork for one of them. And it's still a competitive grant, so it's not a guarantee that I'm gonna get this. So where do you want me to put my time and energy towards seeking? Cars or the generator?
I make a motion to go for the generator.
I'll second that.
I, go ahead.
I think we can pay for the generator. We know we can afford the
Yeah,
generator.
we
And
have the
that's like
money.
a capital
And we've-
improvement.
That's,
here.
yeah, that's improvement.
And we've already
improvement,
voted
yes.
on approving
Yeah, we already approved that.
Lenny buying the generator.
We already approved that. So let's use the money, the grant money towards those cars.
I think it's more feasible and maybe approvable because a big part of our business and our mission is to be able to provide that transportation.
Right.
And it seems to be a hot subject right now.
Self-explanatory thing, you know, that goes towards our whole, what we do here. If I was gonna stamp it approved or not approved, that would make more sense to me, but I'm not USDA. so.
I'm concerned that our transportation is going in the hole every month. It goes
Every
in.
program in the
How
building goes in the
long do
hole.
you anticipate this taking?
Okay, I agree. I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Again, Dolores,
Peer pressure.
the reason why we get millage money is because every program here
Yeah.
goes in the hole, because we do not require people to pay for any services
Right.
that they receive.
Now, I asked Shauna, because I know a gentleman on dialysis that has to go to Alpena
Mhm.
4 days a week, 3 or 4. And I asked her, I says, they don't have any money. They wrecked their car, so they're using her mother's car to take, she says he's got to pay whatever the rate is.
Okay,
So if everybody's got to pay, how are we losing money?
They don't pay, they are not obligated to pay for meals or homekeeping.
because those are different services not provided by ASA. ASA has stated that they would pay for transportation, but they would have to take from some other program. So some other program would have to stop. According to the contract now that we just signed, there are other services that I could expend millage money towards. I could put together a hardship fund for individuals who are like that. However, there will be guidelines and
Yeah, they'll have to
responsibilities.
prove that they're.
Again, that's requiring expanding services. Alpena, you don't have to pay for in-county transports because 1, they have Thunder Bay, and then 2, they have a millage that is just for transportation.
Right.
We don't have that luxury. I have to rob Peter to pay Paul. I have to decide what program am I pulling away from to offer that one particular individual free compensation. And again, as you know, we've talked about, you open the barn door for that, everybody's gonna have a sob story.
Right.
So again, we're just saying, we need to try to bring as much revenue in the building that is unrestricted as possible. Because at the end of the day, we're more than the sum of our parts when it deals with millage. We're more than just the programs that we provide for the millage. We're trying to make sure that we're keeping our heads above water and we're trying to thrive. Because just staying afloat is not our ultimate goal. We want to make sure that we can provide these services.
In your experience, how long does that grant application process?
It took me a year.
No.
It took me a year to get that last grant for $50,000 for the computers.
Well,
And it
that's
will
the
take
only
me,
other consideration is that we can't wait a year if we're
Well, you're
losing the
not.
opportunity,
but,
$3,000 a month.
well, and then that's the thing. Then, I don't want to prioritize and say you take these people first and you put these people on the back burner. But then again, you're looking at the economics of it. So Shauna's doing really good at trying to make sure that we're having a nice little balance, because sometimes it's the last second. They call us with 4 trips, like, hey, I got 4 trips. Well, we'd love to take all 4, but we can only take 1, or we can take none. So, and it's a hit or miss. Some weeks it's 7, some weeks it's 1. It's hit or miss. So, but as the volume increase, so too will our demand increase. But again, it's based off of what we can provide at the particular time that we can provide.
Right, I understand.
So
But I'm
I-
just worried about, being granted those contracts and then not being able to service them. If we have to always say no, then that's not
That's the
gonna last very
problem.
long.
They're gonna
That's-
find somebody else.
Yeah.
So,
there's only one other person that provides services in our area that does what we do. That goes out of the county. So there's only one, and we're 19 miles away from that particular individual
Alcona Health Center does transportation, don't they?
in Oconee County.
In Alcona County.
Yeah.
They'll take you home
Yeah.
to the center and take you home again, but that's.
So
That's all they do.
I will pursue the grant using the funds targeting the cars. I think I could probably do it quicker, but we'll go from that. I think the generator is something within our allocation of funds that we can put
Yeah.
towards.
Mhm.
And here's the thing, all the vehicles that we've bought have not been 100% paid by us. We have gotten grants for those vehicles.
Right.
The last vehicle that we bought, I wrote a grant for almost $12,000 over 3 different agencies to knock off the cost, and we only paid $25,000 for it. So we're not eating the total cost
Not at all.
of these vehicles every
Right.
time that we approve an appropriation.
Well, you also have, if you're losing $1,500 a month of prospective income,
That's
that's a
significant.
car payment.
Yeah.
or maybe even two.
No, that's two car
Yeah.
payments.
Well, and that's, I
Every
mean,
kinds of cars you're buying.
if you
So,
look at the
yeah.
expenses in your expense report, you can see what we spend in expenses,
Yeah.
you know, for the transportation.
Yeah.
So if we're losing 2,000 a month and our expenses is 3, that's, you know, that helps us break even.
That would make,
So
it, yeah.
there's no way to really get those vehicles before being granted money,
We,
right?
we pay it out of pocket. That would be the way to do it.
And then replace it with the grant. I don't.
No,
know
you
if all
can't.
legal
You have
steps
to-
are-
You have
do it after
to,
the
you
fact.
cannot do it after the fact.
Buy
It is,
now, pay later?
you cannot do that. You have to do it at the moment you
Yeah.
get it, and I have to put a whole notice in the
And they have to
paper.
be made aware.
You have to be made aware of what we're spending the money on.
We
Trust
got
me, it
this and
comes
we
with
got
all the
that, yeah.
bureaucracy that comes with it.
Are you talking a regular car or like a van or?
I'm talking about getting additional vans, because it doesn't make any
Vans?
sense getting cars.
Yeah, fans.
Why invest the $20,000 for a car if it's not gonna do everything that we need it to do?
Right.
Right.
So just
To
get
get people
additional
in and out
vans
of
so
it.
you can get people in and out. And if they need a handicap, okay, cool. If they're not handicapped, we're going. It's not like I'm going on to Lenny's and saying, hey, give me a couple of minivans and we're gonna go spend it. No, these things are modified and
Right.
they have to be what's called ADA compliant.
Right.
The headspace has to have so much clearance. This is what we pay for. We pay for
The
we
headspace and
pay for the
lifting you
federal
up into
bureaucracy
it.
that comes with it.
Yeah.
It's not like I can just buy a used minivan for $5,000 and say, hey, make it ADA compliant. It's not gonna happen.
That's all right. That's an important part of our
It is.
Yeah.
objectives and so be it. I mean,
Well, it
Do
makes
you
us
think it's
less
more
than a
important to
meal.
get the cars than the generator at this time?
Well, we're gonna do both, but the
Both, yeah.
generator, we have the money for the generator.
Because that helps
That's a
us.
capital improvement.
Yeah.
That's a
But
capital
do we have to
improvement.
wait a whole year though for the
We're doing
cars?
both. We're waiting the
We're gonna
whole
apply
year.
for
We're
the-
waiting
And
on,
we'll
waiting.
apply for grants. for
There's
the
no
cars.
generators right now. Even if I say, if I call Megan and say, we approve your initiative, he's like, cool. I'll let you know in 6 months when one shows up.
somebody in Lost Lake on a residential one had to wait 9 months.
Yeah.
And that's what he told me. He says 9 months. He
Yeah.
said average of 9 months and I'll get back to you. So while we're working for that, I could be working on the grant to get for the car.
Right.
Yeah. do
So
that.
yes, I'll be a little bit more busy and I'll be, doing things.
So we'll take turns coming in and saying hello for you.
Well, I mean, like Will, we had to agree a grant and it went from, we thought would be easy to, I now need 35 weeks of invoices.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you that we just now have to magically find every one of those to do it.
Invoices, yeah, how ridiculous.
So those things happen. Like these things happen.
Yeah.
So,
All the time.
Yeah, I would say, go ahead and apply for the grant.
Okay.
See if we can get the vehicles.
all right, cars and then we'll pay for the generator.
Yeah, I think that's, and you've already been approved by the generator.
Yep.
Okay, I guess we probably should have a motion for that though to
Yeah.
approve him.
Are spending money?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, first we
Well,
have.
Well,
to
we're
write
not,
the
we're
grant.
not spending money here.
Write the grant.
All we're doing is just, you're just saying that grant. I mean, that, you don't really have to make it a motion to do that. You
Yeah,
just
that's
say,
true. Yeah, go ahead and get the grant.
Go ahead and pursue the grant.
And then we'll make a motion to use the grant to what we intended.
We need to approve the lawyer.
Yes, that was the other piece of business.
Okay,
So
could I have that motion first?
We don't need.
we don't need a motion.
You don't?
No,
Not on
you can
that.
just record it that the board agrees to pursue the USDA grant for funding for transportation vehicles, additional transportation vehicles.
Okay, so we've been using, for this last round with the contract, an attorney, what was his first name?
Tim.
Tim Gullen. Gullen? Golden.
Oh,
Almost golden.
I
Out
thought
of-
it was Gruden. It isn't Gruden?
Golden.
Golden.
Golden,
G-U-L-D-E-N.
Okay,
out of Alpena, I believe he is.
because I thought it was Gruden.
I was thoroughly impressed with him, as far as his knowledge and all of that. So we just need to have a motion to officially approve Tim Golden. I have to stop think again, to a motion to hire him as our representative attorney.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I hadn't realized we actually needed a motion for this. I've reported that he was the best guy months ago.
Quite a while ago.
Right.
we
Yeah.
talked
And
about that.
I simply didn't realize that we needed to do a formal,
Baptism by fire, that we had
baptism,
something he had to help take care of, so that.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I was like, welcome, I need your help.
Yeah.
Yes, he leapt into it. And he's He's promised me a bylaws review this week.
Good.
Yeah.
Because of course, he was putting out fires before, so.
Yeah,
So you need what?
we just need a motion to officially hire him
appoint-
as,
to Officially hire
Tim Golden
Tim
is.
Golden as
as the-
our legal representative.
Legal
Yes.
counsel.
okay, so
Second,
That sounds like a motion.
was that a motion?
Who first did it?
Kim,
it sounded.
sounded like a motion to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Roland seconded.
That's the way it
Any,
sounded.
any discussion?
My question is, so what, are we keeping him on retainer? What are we paying him? Is that come into play?
Is it just
He
an
is,
as needed?
He is as needed. He charges $200 an hour, which is pretty cheap, really.
Yeah,
And.
I did not go to
and
law
no
school.
retainer.
No retainer, so he's just, yeah.
As
So no
needed.
Just pay
retainer,
him
just
when
a,
just as we need them.
Yeah.
Hours, yeah.
But, despite the no retainer, he's been quick to respond.
Yeah.
okay, well, that's what we need
Yeah.
to know. If
Yeah.
we're gonna give him
And
20,000
he
or
has
30,000 or
works
how's that?
For one of the, I've got a list of names now.
Yeah,
But there are about 10 attorneys. And so if there's something he doesn't understand. you know,
Yes.
Who's he
there's
with?
There's someone else.
Who is he with?
I think isn't it right across from the Culligan parking, fountain parking area right there on Chisholm?
Yeah, I'm sorry, let me see if I can.
There's a
remember.
big, long name.
Yeah,
Big, long
yeah.
list of names on
Yeah,
there.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do
Look for the
know.
longest list.
Yeah, and it's printed in gold.
The
on
most
the-
beautiful,
walk up the
biggest building.
Yeah.
Money, money, money.
Yeah, it's just as you turn the
Yeah, I
corner
know where
at,
it is. I know who it is.
at the plaza there. Yeah,
Does he replace the lady that was on the?
no,
No,
Television?
because that's something completely different.
No, no,
She's
she's
the
our.
insurance company's lawyer.
yeah. No, this is just for
As
our
needed
day-to-day.
only.
This is-
Who did you have before, Dave?
It was Dave
Dave
Cook.
Cook.
Dave Cook.
for
He did a
free.
lot for us too.
He
Oh,
did
yeah.
for
For a
free
lot of
though.
years.
Yeah.
For everybody, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Okay, so we have
Okay,
a motion and a second.
right?
Mhm.
We had our discussion, all in favor. Oh, wait, so we're technically spending money
Potentially.
potentially. So let's do a roll call just to
Okay.
be safe.
I'll put that.
Good luck writing those minutes. here.
Okay.
Um.
That's going to be.
Dolores?
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Will, and Stan.
All right, everybody says yes, so the motion carries.
Okay,
And that, ladies and gentlemen,
please tell me.
I
this.
have to go.
it's time to adjourn. I just have one quick statement as your board president. Some of you know, some of you don't know, I have resigned my position as with Catholic Human Services as a prevention specialist, and starting February 7th, I will be with Holy Cross Services as a foster care caseworker. So I'm not sure how the new employer will work with this schedule. So I may or may not be on the board moving forward, but I will let you all know that. But I wanted to give you a heads up that that's a possibility.
Tell
So,
them you have to.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I would entertain a motion to adjourn. That was quick. It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
I
Aye.
third it. Aye.
All opposed? No. Motion is carried. 132. We are adjourned.
I just want to tell you, Lenny, that